All right, so day 2 of planting. Not all of this will go out today. Realistically, I just don't think we'll be able to get it done. But the goal is to have all of this in the garden by the end of the week. So we've got cabbages, and that's what we're going to focus on today, is getting all these cabbages out in the garden. I've got broccolis and cauliflowers and mustards, chard, dill, and kale out here. Now some of these things, especially like the chard, it's not going to go out yet because we still have some colder weather coming here in the next week. That'll be too much for the chard, but I'm going to be bringing it out during the day to get it acclimated. Broccoli, the same. I may wait. Well, just depends on how the week plays out. I may plant it, I may not, and just have to cover it when those cooler temperatures come. It can totally handle the cooler temperatures, but it may affect its bolting if it goes from really cold to really warm in a short span. So again, depending on what we are able to get done in the garden today, I may wait on the broccoli and the Swiss chard and just kind of bring it out during these more temperate days and let it just hang out. So right now we're going to be getting the cabbage in. That's our goal. I've got early Jersey cabbage. It's like a Napa cabbage. Red Acres cabbage, which is more of a head cabbage. And then, which I have a lot of that. And then after that, we'll focus on the purple crush cauliflower and the snowball cauliflower. So that's the goal. We'll see what we get. Oh, carrots is the other thing we really want to try to get in the ground today, carrots and radishes, if we're able to get the other bed raked out and prepared. So it's supposed to rain like here in the next hour and a half, of course, but it's very light. So we're just going to tough it out and be a little bit in the rain while we're getting some of this done. So isn't that pretty? Okay, so these are the early Jersey cabbages, or like Napa cabbage. We're gonna put them right here on this ridge. We're gonna space them out a foot per each plant. So it's kind of like the square foot gardening idea. Each plant will get a square foot, and they're on the other side of the potatoes over here, okay? So right here on this ridge, we're gonna start planting them out all the way down 1 foot apart, all right? Good to go?
Yeah.
Okay, we got the cabbage in. I'm impressed. In like a really short amount of time. I will say it's definitely helpful to have helpers. One thing that we did in the garden that made planting super easy is over the winter and in the fall, we laid down chicken manure, leaves, grass clippings from the fall, all the leaves that we raked up on our property, wood chips. We were layering that stuff in this garden throughout the winter. Straw from the animals' coops and run areas. So this ground is really nice. It's really easy to dig in, which is like completely different than it was last year when we had raw ground that we had to break in and plant in. And then what's really cool is what I'll show you here with some of the wood chips and leaves that we had piled on top of all the manure. We already have like a built-in mulch. So when we were planting these cabbages, we just had to rake away this mulch till we got to the dirt and then dig down in the dirt, and then we just move the mulch back around the plants. So this is going to help keep moisture in. It's going to give them a firm foundation out here in this ground that's now really loose. And I can just use my little rake here to just kind of even it out and make sure that they are all evenly spaced, that they've got this mulch around them here. So this is just such a great way to start the garden year. Now, you know, I've got kids out here working, so they're not as tedious as I am about making sure that these plants are mounded around the base so that they have a nice firm foundation. So I'm just gonna come back in here and press this dirt down to make sure it's not gonna sink the minute it rains. And then again, come back in here and cover it up with this mulch. But yeah, pretty excited that we got all of these in the ground. So we'll come back out after lunch and fill out the rest of this bed. Okay, so we're moving on to the cauliflower now. The goal is to get all this cauliflower in the ground before the rain starts. I just want to get this garden planted out with some of these bigger plants before they stop thriving in my house. And like I said, to make room on the shelf, and we've just got to get these plants out. So it's supposed to rain the next 2 days, which is so unfortunate. So we're gonna get these in the ground, then we'll work on the broccolis, kales, and chards later this week. So we have all the cauliflower planted, and my plan for here in this area on this side of all the cauliflower are to do herbs. And those herbs are going to be protective to these plants, to these brassicas, for cabbage moths, caterpillars, the things that like to eat brassicas. Those perfumes from the, go ahead and tie that in for me, bud. You can leave that here. 1 second. Here, the perfumes they send off will deter pests that like those brassicas from landing here. So I'm going to plant sage, rosemary, thyme, and oregano. I have to look at my plan, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. What do I have? Dill, rosemary, sage, and thyme, and some calendula. And actually on that side where my son is right there is where the chamomile is going, because chamomile also grows really well with brassicas. So we are getting ready to move the rope, and we're going to mark out our next bed, which will house the kale, Swiss chard, arugula, spinach, and I should have just left this out. Kale, arugula, mustard greens, lettuces, carrots, radishes, Swiss chard. So we're going to go ahead and try to mark that out while it's still not raining and see if we can get anything in the ground. So unfortunately, it's starting to rain. It's kind of on and off. We've marked our next garden bed here, and so I'm gonna start raking some of the straw into it for the mulch, also to kind of just delineate where the pathways and the gardens are. And then we'll just have to see what the weather does if we're able to get out our next group of plants. Like I said, our kales, chards, mustards, arugula, spinach, carrots, radishes. So a good mix of plants, and I will share with you probably in another video when I'm planting those, why I chose to plant those plants together in the way that I did. So I'm going to finish raking up here. I'm going to have to turn the phone off because it's raining, but we will definitely keep you updated in this video or another one. All right.